Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm Linda Joy, storytelling guide, best-selling publisher, and the publisher at Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational digital magazine for women since 2006. You know, I've always been dedicated to creating sacred community for women to grow, connect, thrive, and learn the strategies and insights and expertise to live their best lives. So for me, community is everything. And as I've been doing for 17 years, bringing women together. So to say today's guest is special, I am so excited to introduce you to Florence Ann Romano, because, you know, everyone has heard the phrase, it takes a village, but how exactly do we find our village? Well, in today's inspiring conversation, personal growth strategist Florence Ann, author of Build Your Village, offers insights and tools to help you find your community and start building meaningful and lasting relationships. She's an author, philanthropist, businesswoman, personal growth strategist, and village and childcare advocate with a sparkling personality. With an eye for marketing, Romano flourishes as both an advisor for and the vice president of business strategy for Yakkety Yak. She's a proud member of the board of directors at the Children's Research Fund, as well as Female Strong. She's also a founding member of Sesame Street's Leadership Council. After spending more than 15 years as a childcare provider, during which she was known as the Windy City Nanny, Romano is the authority on childcare and family support in this new millennium, and has had more than 500 media appearances discussing these topics. She wants to show people that not only is the saying it takes a village true, but it's also so important that the need for community is. Welcome, Florence Ann.
Oh my goodness, Linda, thank you. What a lovely introduction from lovely you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here because your book, Build Your Village, A Guide to Finding Joy in Community in Every Stage of Life, came across my desk, and I was thrilled to share it in the Aspire Mag Top 10 list and have you share your wisdom in Aspire Mag. And it really spoke to me because now more than ever, we need community, don't we, my friend?
Oh goodness, yes, we do. And I feel like everywhere I turn, someone is saying that exact sentiment to me, that they're struggling with connection and struggling with friendship.
Well, let's go backwards a little, because you've had a heck of a journey, my friend, right? From the Windy City Nanny to appearing on over 500 media platforms. Bring us into your journey to help our listeners understand why this is so important to you.
A journey, it certainly has been. So like you said, I was a nanny for 15 years, known as the Windy City Nanny. And I had a web series actually here in Chicago. And I went to different homes throughout Chicago and talked to different families about their dynamics and their values and the common denominators that all of these families had. The show gave a platform to different family situations, whether it was parenting with chronic illness, or it was a father who lost his wife very young and raising two young daughters, or a mom who felt that she had lost her way in life. You know, she had lost her identity to motherhood and needed support in finding who she was again. And so we explored all of those things. And at the same time, I was also promoting my children's book, Nanny and Me. I had written a children's book that helped parents understand and children understand the transition of being cared for by your parents to being cared for by a nanny or a caretaker. And then I started doing a lot of media surrounding childcare in the new millennium. And after that, and doing that awareness and bringing that awareness to families all across the globe. I then started, just like the rest of us, having to do that sheltering in place during COVID and that isolation. And that led me to really looking around at the landscape of our lives and realizing that this idea of village is always attached to people raising children. You know, it takes a village to raise a child, as the proverb goes. But I felt that was unfair to only say that people with children need a village. We all need a village. And we all knew what it felt like during COVID to have our villages and our communities ripped away from us, seemingly overnight. And that led me to write my book today that you mentioned, Build Your Village, because I wanted people to feel like no matter what your life looks like, children, no children, however you design your life, you deserve to find your people.
Oh my God. And I can so relate. I live in an isolated area. I live in the middle of the woods on a spring-fed pond. So I don't feel like I was as affected because I love sacred cocooning.
Mm-hmm.
But the conversations in my global community of women, I saw the pain, I saw the hurt, I saw them start to spiral because they felt disconnected. So the wound was so deep on so many levels. And that's what your book speaks to, about finding joy in community. But I love what you said, in every stage of life, not just for family members, you know, not just for parents, I should say.
Right. And not just for parents, you know, it's important that we realize that as our life evolves, as our life transitions, our relationships change. And there's no shame in that, in saying that our circle has gotten smaller or that it's more difficult to find relationships or make relationships. We should be able to admit that out loud. A lot of the work that you do in this book is about honesty and vulnerability, about where you are in life and how you are feeling about your support system or lack thereof. And you never stop, or never should stop, should I say, Linda, looking for those ways to connect, to fulfill you, to sustain you, to nourish you. And as we get older, the way we connect with people changes.
Oh, it's so true. I just turned 60. And for me, well, I have a question. So when you say community, you mean in person, real life, human to human connection, not the virtual community, because we all have that now. And the sad part is so many got used to that they're no longer connecting in person. So I'd love your thoughts on that.
I do believe in a healthy dose of all of it. You know, moderation, everything in moderation is key. I believe in a virtual village. Certainly, I am that to a lot of people on social media. You know, when they connect with me on Instagram, there's one gal just this morning I was talking to. She sent me a screenshot of her reading my book. And this is someone I've never met in person, probably will never meet in person, but there have been, 2:00 in the morning DMs from her saying, I'm struggling with this. And, we talk through it. And I'm someone who's always probably going to be a part of her virtual village, never in real life, but it doesn't devalue the relationship she has with me or that I have with her. However, the real life in-person relationships, that is just as important too, if not more important, because that connection in real life, there's nothing that can replicate that. There's nothing that truly can replace that. And I know just from my own life experience what it feels like when I am lacking in that real life human connection and what that does to me. And I know that I'm not the only one that feels that way, but it's not a matter of quantity, Linda. It's the quality of those relationships,
Yes.
in-person connections. That's what makes the difference. Because I'll tell you, some of the loneliest people I know have a calendar full of social engagements with people all the time, and that's not actually nourishing them.
Oh my God, this is speaking to my heart because I believe that it's like aligned relationships. That's how I look at relationships that nurture us. And like you, I have a global community for 17 years with Aspire. And when you have that, there is a relationship built with your readers and your community where they feel intimately connected with you. So like you, I get those messages and emails. So for me, the virtual community is an important element of my life of service. And I also know myself personally that as an introvert, it can be very easy for me to only have that, right?
Absolutely.
And work behind my computer. So a lot of my clients are every stage, my private clients, every stage of life. So I have some that, you know, they're alone, they're widowed. And my biggest suggestion to them is find something you love, a community you love, whether it's art or the library, something where it supports you. And that's what you're talking about, right? That a nourishing community.
I love that you mentioned finding, you know, what your passions are, what makes your heart beat, as I would say. I always say, what makes your heart flutter? And that is a really beautiful way to actually take that first step in connecting. I always have had a heart for philanthropy. It was how I was raised. You know, there was always a give back component to just kind of just the subtext of my life. And what you just said about, you know, serving others. I always say to people, I don't know what the meaning of life is, but I know what my meaning of life is, and it is to live a life in service of others. And I think also what needs to be clarified too with that is it doesn't mean that you're not taking care of yourself. It doesn't mean that you're not prioritizing yourself because you're helping other people. You know, you're on a plane and the oxygen mask falls down. You have to put it on yourself first before you put it on someone else. And that's what life is. You know, you have to take care of yourself in order to care for others. And that's a delicate dance that we do. But in finding these people and finding these connections, I really think a lovely way and a really profound way of finding those people that are like-minded is through philanthropy. You find an organization that means something to you, and you're going to find people that feel the same way about that specific thing, and that's going to open up the opportunity for relationships. And what a beautiful way to connect with someone, because you're doing something you believe in, and then you're also getting the benefit of meeting people that are hopefully going to, again, like we said, nourish you.
Such an important conversation about philanthropy, and it is so fulfilling. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment with Florence Ann Romano. Learn more at florenceannromano.com. And of course, grab a copy of her book, Build Your Village. We'll be back in a moment.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation and let's magnetize and monetize.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy. With me today is the author of Build Your Village, Florence Ann Romano. So Florence Ann, what are some of the questions that we should or must ask ourselves when determining a new village member? I'm very into energy and connection and kindred spirits. That's the words I would use.
I love all of those words.
Oh yeah, I'm like, it's an instant connection sometimes, virtually too. Sometimes I just have these instant. So what are some of the questions to ask ourselves?
Well, most importantly, you want to understand why you are even looking for these people in your life. What type of people, what type of person do I need? I always think about casting a play or casting a movie. You're doing the same work here. You're figuring out who the main players are in your life and the supporting characters as well. But when you're vetting for the village, as I would say in my book, you need to look for people that are willing to listen, that are good at recognizing what you need and understanding whether or not they can make you feel understood. Listening, recognizing what you need, and will they make you feel understood? Those are three very important questions to ask yourself when vetting those village members.
Oh, I love that. And I love how you use the analogy of the play and fill in the role. Like, I know I want someone that is creative like me so we can do things together, that type of thing.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
It's like, really, you have to know yourself and what you need so you can fill that need by attracting that person to you.
Right. And you also have to figure out what it is that you feel that you are lacking right now. I know that some people feel like they don't have that person in their life they can depend on. And let me backtrack, I guess, for a minute. There's 6 villagers that I created in this book, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, Linda. But even to get on a jump on that, these 6 villagers, they all come with a definition, of course, but without me providing even a definition to those 6, I'm going to say them. And I feel like you will be able to start casting people in those roles just reflexively. So accepting, dependable, cheerleader, communicator, organizer, and healer. I feel like those are the 6 main characters of those villagers. And the example I was just going to use for dependable, that's your emergency contact, the one that you can pick up the phone and you can count on them to be there. And some people find that is the hardest person to cast in this out of the 6 villagers. And I don't know if that's because people don't answer their phone anymore when you need them or whatever it might be, but that really consistently dependable person. So use that as an example. Maybe that's where you need to focus your attention and say, you know what, that's what's missing. That's what's making me wake up in the morning and feel like I don't have that. And that's making me feel, less supported or less seen, or maybe nervous or less secure. And then there's also the other side to it, where you may have all 6 of these people, but you're still feeling there's something not right, that your friendships are falling short. And maybe that's because you have cast those people in the wrong roles. Maybe you're using your healer and as the healer, but they really should be the communicator. Maybe the communicator really should be the accepting friend. Maybe you need to fix, the casting in your life and move people into different seats and allow them to really flourish in terms of their strengths, because then they are going to be able to meet your needs and meet those expectations. But if they're falling short, you need to do that evaluation.
I love that, because as we're going through the list, I just automatically, I'm like, oh, that's Mary, that's Diane, right?
There you go. Yeah.
It was so funny. Yeah. It was just organic. As you're going through them, I instantly knew who was in the role.
See, without me even, Linda, giving a definition to those 6, that's exactly what I want people to do, is realize that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit here. You probably have these people in your life, or a lot of them. But again, maybe they're sitting in the wrong seats, or maybe they're not there. Those people aren't there. So now you can go out there with that intention, set that intention about the type of relationship building that you're looking to do. But it should make you feel better to know that you probably do have more people than you thought in your life that are sitting in these seats.
Yeah, it was really powerful, just listening to the words and going, I see that. I could fill them instantly. One of
I
the
love
other
that.
two things, Florence Ann, is, and I know you've heard it, in fact, you talk about it in the book about the loneliness pandemic, right?
Right.
And I can relate, because a lot of the clients, especially those that don't have extended family around them, wow, was that really hard for them when they just got disconnected? It's like they were just a solo, alone in the world.
Right.
So how has it shown up in your research and in your work?
Well, what's interesting to me is right now, a lot of people are talking about the friendship recession. And that is directly related to this isolation that, you and I are discussing right now. And it's a consequence of the pandemic, certainly. But what I feel has happened and has led us to this, when we were all sheltering in place and we were all isolated, that it did eventually end, even though, God, it seemed like it took forever. And it got, you can just put yourself right back in those shoes and wondering if it would ever end. But then it did. And we had the opportunity to get back to some normalcy. And I found that not only did people not really know how to connect with people again, but they didn't really want to. Yoga pants and Netflix, that was more interesting. That was more fun. That was the easier option for people. They got very used to isolating. And all of a sudden, we've woken up now into this kind of new normal world that we have post-pandemic, and we're feeling lonely. And we are the solution to this, because it has to be the effort that we make in order to reestablish those connections, in order to feel that fulfillment. But what's hard, and what people don't want to say out loud, is it takes effort. And the effort to do that is what's lacking, because this book is going to give you the directions to do that, the directions to the village that I hear people bemoan all the time. What are the directions? What's the number to call? Well, here you go. Here's the roadmap. But I can give you the directions, but I need you to get in the car and drive. That's the difference here, is I need this to be an active participation from everyone, because it is a goal that you have. It is a desire that you have, but you have to want it. I can give you all the help in the world, but you have to want it.
It's just like everything else in life, right?
Right.
Change doesn't come until we take inspired action. I think that's so powerful. And like you said, you gave them the roadmap, but they got to get in the car. I love that.
Get in the car and drive. I need you to do it. Because, Linda, it would be so fun if in life you just opened up your front door and there they were, your villagers. They were wonderful. These friends are amazing. And you have this beautiful relationship. It's rich in so many different ways, but that's not how this works. The older that we get, the harder it is to find those adult relationships that are very meaningful, very impactful. And no one wants to say the quiet part out loud. And that is that we need to be part of the process. We are the reason that change is going to happen in your life. And there are a lot of reasons why people are afraid of making those changes, of taking those steps. And I know a number one reason that is reported to me, at least, is the rejection part of it.
Yeah.
Not knowing how they're going to be received.
Yeah, it's a big wound for a lot of people. I hear that too, even in business, because I work with a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs. It's like, oh, I'm afraid to put myself out there. So it's a deep fear for all of us, right? I'm afraid to put myself out there. What if no one wants my services? Well, if you don't put yourself out there, you can't serve. You can't change lives. Exactly. And it's the same thing with friendships and community. If we don't if we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable in life, then we're missing out so much. And you're talking to someone that was so armored for the first 30 years of a life and had to peel all those layers off to be who I am today. So I get it, ladies, for those who are listening, I get about feeling vulnerable. So we're going to take another break, Florence, and when we come back, let's talk about that. So I'll be back in a moment, my friends. I am with Florence Ann Romano, author of Build Your Village. Visit her at florenceannromano.com. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you ready to experience the unshakable love and unleashed passion you really want? Great news! Discover what thousands of people are doing to transform their relationships in ways they never thought possible. And your partner does not need to participate in the process to enjoy the results you want in your relationship. Relationship expert and Aspire magazine columnist Stacey Martino and her husband Paul are the founders of relationshipdevelopment.org and Relationship U. They have successfully empowered thousands of clients with tools and strategies that really work to transform their relationship. Any relationship. And your partner does not even need to participate for their proven system to work for you. Transforming your relationship is possible, and it begins with you. Take the first step and visit relationshipdevelopment.org today.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is Florence Ann Romano, author, philanthropist, businesswoman, personal growth strategist, and I'll tell you, a hell of a personality. I just love your vibe. I got to tell you.
Thank you.
Immediate connection with your energy. So
I feel the same way about you.
well, thank you, my friend. And right before the break, we were talking about vulnerability. And I think that's really important that we dive a little deeper into it, because the fear of rejection stops us from taking action, which means no change can come, no support can come. So what do you say to those who that is what's holding them back?
I want to dive a little deeper into the reasons why. What's the worst that can happen is always what I say. The worst that can happen, you put yourself out there, to make these friendships or make these connections, and it doesn't work out, or the timing is wrong, or whatever the case is. We all have to be a little bit brave in life. We all have to do that analysis about the risk. Is this void in my life strong enough, deep enough, sad enough, lonely enough that it's going to be the catalyst to make me make a change? And I think that tends to be what happens in life, Linda, is you get fed up with something enough, or you're upset enough, or you're whatever enough. And then all of a sudden you're taking that step because you've had it. And whatever that it is, I think that's the obstacle. You need to get to that point where it's enough is enough and I'm going to make a change. And that bravery, to go outside our comfort zone. I always say in life, sometimes you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to risk in order to gain, in order to find that reward. And, I could say all of these different, sayings or, quips about taking risks, but that is the truth, is if you really want it, then you're going to usually have to risk something. And maybe that's risking being vulnerable. And that's the scariest thing to you.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what's waiting on the other side is so worth it. That's what I found.
Yes. Yes. It is so worth it. I mean, I have had so many different relationships in my life, and I speak about so many of those. Some are also the icky moments in life. I speak about that in the book. Not everything is hearts and flowers, and I've had to learn some really hard lessons. And one of the chapters in my book is about when the village burns down. And the village burns down for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes we're the ones that light a torch and torch it ourselves. And sometimes it's because of loss. It's because of death, divorce, a breakup of some kind, or a falling out with a friend. That all is part of the village burning down. And sometimes it's the right thing. Sometimes it's the best and right thing for you that those relationships end, because something else is waiting for you and you needed that to end in order to find it. And other times it's a lesson you wish you never had to learn. And it's going to be something that you just have to get through. And it's going to be hard and it's going to be rough, but that's where you lean on the people in your life in order to help you rebuild. But relationships aren't perfect, and relationships end, and relationships teach us something. And that's part of what's important about the work of this book, is knowing that this is not meant to be put in a box and it's not perfectly tied up in a bow. Sometimes it's messy and there's beauty in the breakdown. But the point is, if you have the right people in your life, you can get through anything.
Just singing my song. I know you may not know my background, but I'm a single mom. What was a single mom, welfare mom, high school dropout runaway who just got her shit together and started my first business 32 years ago. Talk about being vulnerable, talk about being afraid, talking about the divine right people coming into my life when I needed it, even when it was really vulnerable for me to accept help. And I want to talk about that too, because so many people, like, help is trying to come, right? Support's trying to come, and they're like, oh no, thank you, I can do it myself.
Right.
So I was one of them, and the divine always kept tapping on my shoulder, or sometimes gave me a cosmic 2x4, like, I am sending you just about everybody to support you. And now, isn't it funny that Aspire is 17 years old, and I've built a global community of supporting other women to shine their message and transform lives. And it's all about acceptance and vulnerability and community. So ladies, if you're listening, as you listen, think about what Florence Ann said. It's like, what's waiting for you on the other side of that vulnerability is so worth it. So I just want to invite everyone, lean in, my friends. So Florence Ann, what are some of the ways we can heal ourselves when we're feeling down, when we're feeling kind of frozen with what is, instead of getting in the car and on the path?
Well, I'll tell you, my secret in life, when I have felt very down in the dumps, and I talk about this in the book too, different parts of my life where you fall into that rabbit hole and you just can't get out of it. You get sick of yourself. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes you just get sick of your own stuff. You get sick of your own feelings. You almost feel like kind of a prisoner or a hostage in your body, a hostage to these feelings. And the way for me to always get out of that is to step outside of myself and focus on something else, someone else, truthfully. And the first thing I usually do is reach out to someone and ask how they're doing and what's going on in their life. And it distracts me from being so internalized about everything and festering about things. I reach out to other people and have conversations about them. And I'm a curious person in general about human nature. And I'm curious about just how people are navigating in life and how they're feeling, and taking kind of a temperature check. And I feel like that's the best way for me to heal myself, is by looking at how I can be in service of others. And all of a sudden I start to see the pieces of myself heal, and myself come back to myself, because I'm doing something that really does water me. that is when I am at my best self, is when I am able to support others. And that's not said with ego behind it. It's like, oh, I care about people so much, and I'm always about just other people and taking care of other people. That's not what this is. It's about knowing that when you are there to show up for another person, yes, you're doing it for them, to support them, but you yourself also should be learning something from that moment where you're showing up in support. It should be challenging you to dig deep about, how am I going to be most helpful here? Who am I? And how do I show up for this person? What are my strengths that I can contribute? What are the things I need to work on? Also, in order for me to show up for people the right ways, because that is going to also affect how you are developing yourself to show up for yourself. How you treat other people directly affects how you treat yourself.
Oh, 100%. And there's something you said too. There's something about getting out of your own story, your own muck, to reach out to another person. Something shifts within you when you start making it all about you and getting stuck in the story, right?
Right.
I can feel the energy shift. Like, for me, I do calls, and it just comes from the heart, spiritual support calls, mostly mindset calls. And it just happens, I don't know, the divine sending, women who right now are all receiving tough diagnoses. I don't know why they're coming, but they know what I've gone through, and that's my way of giving support. I just reach out and check on them.
Mm-hmm.
It takes moments, but do you know what it means to the person on the other side? And it helps me stay in my heart center, right? Because life gets busy for all of us. It'd be easy to say, I don't have time to reach out to them right now. I don't have time to check in on a friend. But the truth is, that's connection, that's community, that's soul connection, and that's important to me.
That's exactly it. I have a philosophy. I don't know if it's a philosophy or a mandate that I kind of have in life for myself, is that, you're never too busy to do that. You're on your phone all day long anyway, you're on the computer, you have time to send a text message. If anyone that says that they don't, that is just such an enormous lie, that they don't have time to send a text message. So one thing I do with my friends is I'll send 2 words and an exclamation point. I'll say wellness check in a text message to my girlfriends, or just anyone in general, truly, that I'm connected with. And that's the sign to them that I want to know how they are. When they have time, when they have a moment to breathe, send me an update, unload on me if you need to, vent if you need to. This is my way of checking in, my temperature check on you, and make sure that you know that someone's thinking about you, and that you have a place now, if you need it, to turn to and have a conversation, or just again unload. Again, being seen, heard, and understood in life, these are all the things that we want. And a simple text message like that makes someone feel like I was remembered today. You have no idea what's going on in that person's life today, and that may have been the thing that changed the whole rhythm of their day, because they were feeling lonely, they were feeling unseen, they were feeling like no one cared. But you just randomly sent that hug or that smile to them in that way, and it made them feel like, you know what, I'm not alone.
Oh my God. Speaking my language, those are the kind of texts I'll send. I spirit nudges me, and it'll just say, reach out, and it'll go, if I know someone's going through a health crisis or whatever it may be, a struggle in their life. Sometimes I just get a nudge, and it's as simple as a text. Like you said, no one can say they don't have time. It'll go, thinking of you, wrapping you in a love-filled hug. Whatever comes, that's it.
Yes.
I'm going to give you one example, because there's no accident we're having this conversation. I kept getting a nudge to reach out to a woman on Facebook who I published in one of my first books back 13 years ago. But she was back in my energy field, and I'm like, oh, something's up. Something is up. I reached out to her yesterday, Florence Ann. I said, darling, I think it's time for a check-in. She's like, oh my God, so good to hear from you. This morning, we got on Zoom. We have not seen or connected. We're still connected on Facebook. And she goes, I need to tell you something. I said, what? She goes, I asked for a sign from the universe. And I said, what's up? She goes, I got diagnosed with lymphoma 2 days ago. And
Oh, I got
I needed
chills.
a sign from the universe, and you were it.
What?
Now,
Oh,
that nudge I kept getting, so we were both emotional. That nudge I kept getting, come on, I'm busy. I run 5 media brands, and if you have a family, well, I can give you 1,000 excuses. But I follow those spirit nudges, those internal nudges. And what that did for her in that moment, and plus our reconnection was beautiful. But I no longer doubt, reach out. I don't care if I have a personal relationship. Look, I haven't seen her since 2011.
wow.
And that's how powerful the nudge was. And then she gets that diagnosis 2 days ago.
Oh my
And she
gosh.
said, I can't believe this. I asked for a sign. And so please, when you get the nudge, and we're going to take another break. I almost forgot, my production's going to kick my butt. So we're going to be right back, my friends. We're going to continue this inspiring conversation with Florence Ann Romano. Visit her at florenceannromano.com. We'll be back for the last segment.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you feeling called to clear your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual blockages? That's your soul and environment speaking to you and asking you to uncover all the clutter that is preventing you from living the life you envision. Felicia Messina DeHady, soul coaching master practitioner and trainer and teacher of advanced interior alignment and medicine wheel feng shui, supports her international clientele by creating inner and outer transformation in their environments and their lives by combining elements from her extensive training, experience, and intuition. Felicia is a master intuitive coach, certified by Colette Baron Reed, and has served as a master mentor for Denise Lin's Elemental Space Clearing certification course, as well as her Ultimate Clutter Clearing. Explore her offerings, including certification courses in Feng Shui, space clearing, soul coaching, and Reiki at FeliciaDeHady.com.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
The United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. At the Equal Justice Initiative, we believe mass incarceration has to end. There is this presumption of dangerousness and guilt that gets assigned to Black and brown people. We have to confront our history of racial injustice and commit to a new era of truth. There's something better waiting for us, something that feels more like freedom. Truth can inspire change. Please learn more at eji.org.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Today, I am with Florence Ann Romano, author, philanthropist, businesswoman, and author of Build Your Village. So right before the break, we were talking about taking time to just a simple text. You never know when you can make an impact on someone's day. And I really encourage you to do it, as Florence Ann did, when you're feeling down, because it will get you out of your muck, I found for myself, faster than anything else.
That is so well said. It does get you out of the muck. And I feel like when we're looking for healing, healing comes in a lot of different forms and a lot of different places. And when I look at my own ecosystem of the people in my life that are my healers, being one of those villagers is the healers, I always caution people to remember that the healer is not there to fix you or fix the situation.
Yes.
Healer is there to walk with you through it, whatever the it is in your life. They are that consciously compassionate North Star. And if you are always looking at people in your lives to fix your situation or fix you, you're not going to be utilizing these relationships properly, because that is no one's job. And that is definitely not the healer's job. The healer, again, is there to make you feel better, but not fix it.
Yeah, I call mine the sacred space holders.
Love that.
There's
Beautiful.
3, right? I know that I can turn to 3. They started off as clients, actually. And now we're peers. And that I know I can reach out. They will hold space. They're not trying to fix it. They're just letting me be and process whatever it is I need to process. So it's the same thing, right? They're not there to fix me. I don't want guidance. I don't want advice. I just want someone to hold space as I process and just love me.
And just love me. I love how you said that. And that holding space, that is such a powerful thing. And I also think that when you're looking at all these villagers, I mentioned being consciously compassionate. That is the common denominator with all 6: compassion. Compassion is really where it starts and ends. And, even going one step farther, saying empathy. I always talk about this empathy effect in life, that we're all part of that. It's the drop into the pond that creates that ripple. And, all of us are that in people's lives. I can think of all the people in my life that, they were that drop into the water. And I've seen how those waves, how those ripples have formed, not just ripples, waves. I'm going to call them waves because sometimes they turn into waves, those ripples, and that's magnificent and that's powerful. I always say also too in life that, you have to ride the waves in life, but you also have to make them. And I've seen so many different people in my life do that for me. But this idea of how we are living this life of support of one another and in community, in relationship building, in village, as we talk about, it's not a lifestyle. It is a love style. That's what I always say. It's a love style. And that, to me, that word love style, it totally changes, I think, how I view the world, because lifestyle to me means one thing and love style is very tangible. You can run your fingers through it. You can feel it and put your arms around it. And that's how I like to look at relationship building, is you have to get your arms around it, and you want the arms around you. And you've got to find those words and those people that make you feel something. That's how change happens. It's usually through a feeling.
That's a beautiful description. I love that about love style. That speaks to my heart. I have a question for you as we're coming to the end. Why do you think it's so challenging? I know how challenging it was for me way back then, to not only acknowledge they need help, but to actually ask for it.
It makes us feel like we are weak. That's the easy answer. I think everyone says that, like, oh, it makes me weak if I ask for help. So, yeah, that's true. I'll say that out loud because it is true. But asking for help, I also think, let's take it one step further. It's hard to do that because you wonder when you're going to have the chance, if you'll have the chance to reciprocate. And you feel like someone's keeping score. If they do this for me, I'm going to have to do something for them. And they're going to be waiting. They're going to be waiting for me to do it for them. And I don't know when I'm going to be able to pay back this kindness, this tit for tat nature of life. That's not what this is about. And there is a big difference between you being a doormat and someone taking advantage of you and walking all over you, and you showing up for people expecting nothing in return. Those are 2 very different things.
It's 2 different energies, and I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about masculine energy. What's in it for me? If I do this for you, you have to do it for me. Or feminine energy, which is love. Let me just show up and serve. I'm not keeping score. It's like that energy. And I think for me, it was not just being afraid to ask for help because I thought I was weak. I had this thing that if I ask for help, I'll be a burden to someone.
Yep. That's
That,
exactly it.
yeah, that was mine, I can say, back in my, especially up until like 30, 35. Now I have no problem asking about.
But that's one of the hardest things to do in the world. And I think it's right up there with, people's fear of public speaking. I think asking for help, I think you get nervous that you think if you do, not just you're going to be a burden, but that you've somehow failed yourself, and that I should be able to take care of myself. I should be able to do this. I should be able to handle this. We should all over ourselves sometimes, and it's a terrible word. Sometimes that word that you should do this or that, fill in the blank, whatever it is, because that puts some sort of expectation on yourself about strength that kind of has some dysmorphia attached to it, because being helped or being supported doesn't mean you're not strong or not capable. And we need to really try very hard in life to make sure that we aren't, again, shooting all over ourselves, because that is going to lead us to being even lonelier. And that, again, what we're talking about here, about this crisis, this epidemic of loneliness, that's where it's all stemming from too, is we are expecting ourselves to do things alone when we were never meant to, as a society, be disconnected or alone.
So true, my friend, so true. I want to give you an opportunity, Florence Ann, in the last few minutes. I've already encouraged everyone, go grab a copy of your book, Build Your Village, and to visit florenceannromano.com. Is there any other special projects, events, or anything else you want to share with them?
I would love for you, if you are social media, not even just savvy, if you're engaged on social media at all, please come and join me in my village. FlorenceAnn.Romano is where you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. And I really do answer every direct message that I get. And I really feel that we have a very engaged community that lifts each other up. And it would mean a lot to connect with you in that way.
That's beautiful. Again, that's Florence Ann Romano on Facebook as well as Instagram. Florence, it has been a beautiful conversation. I'm so glad our paths have merged.
Me too. Oh my gosh, of course. This, like you said, kindred spirits. I absolutely feel that way.
Yeah, I felt it as soon as we connected before we even came on the air. So thank you, my friend. And I want to encourage everyone, visit florenceannromano.com, grab a copy of Build Your Village, a guide to finding joy and community in every stage of life. And be sure to join her on Facebook and Instagram at Florence Ann Romano. And I'm sure she's looking forward to seeing you and serving and supporting you. Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.